All right, we'd like to welcome everybody out to the Apex Show and Sell at the Peak live stream. I have with me today Blaine Rue of Rue Livestock. Blaine, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
Oh, we've got about 4 feet of snow in my front yard. It's a beautiful,
Oh, no.
beautiful day.
Well, we haven't got much snow here lately. It's raining today, so but we need the rain. The ponds are down. We need the rain.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. We need every bit of snow we can get. We're definitely going to fill up some reservoirs this year, though.
Right.
So. Well, cool. I'm excited to have Blaine on so we can talk some goats. Blaine's a goat expert as far as I'm concerned. So, Blaine, why don't you go ahead and tell us how you initially got involved in the livestock industry?
So, growing up as a kid, I was always involved with the 4-H program. I think that program is probably one of the best deals for any young kid to be involved in. And then as we went on, I think Mom just one day was like, "Hey, what do you think about showing?" And I was like, "Heck, why not? Let's try it out." So originally we started showing hogs that first year that I started. And me personally, I'm not a big fan of chasing something. So I was like, this just isn't really for me. So we got in the goat deal, and that's how we started, just through showing those things. And then every year, we'd keep those females back and put them into the program.
Okay. So you didn't like the pigs, huh?
No, that's not really my cup of tea.
I worked on a pig farm growing up. Pigs are not my cup of tea either. They're
Right.
kind of a pain in the tush. Got to keep this family friendly though. Don't want Facebook to kick us off.
I know.
All right. So you decided to go the goat direction. When did you decide to start breeding goats?
That probably would have been 2012, maybe 14, somewhere in there.
Okay. So how many years before that were you showing goats?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you what year I actually started showing goats. I'd have to look back at some old pictures and dates on that deal, because I graduated in 16. That would have been my senior year, so I couldn't really tell you an exact year that we really started.
Okay. So making that jump from just showing to breeding is a big jump.
It
right?
is.
So I'd like to hear some stories. How did you screw up? What did you do right when you got going? Yeah, just unfold the story to us about how Rue Livestock came to be what it is today.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of hands in the pool, obviously. If somebody told you that they did it all by themselves, I wouldn't believe them. So there's a lot of hands in the pool. We have my mom's a big influence. Kaylin was a big influence on that deal. As far as picking the breedings, that was always my deal. And I've worked for a few guys in the business, and some of those guys have sold out. Kenneth Helms would have been one back in the day. So we kitted out in anywhere's in between like 750 to about 1,200 does in 3 months when I worked for. And that deal was a big experience in my life because I never ran 750 to 1,250 does. I never did, and never really wanted to either.
Yeah.
So doing that many in 3 months, you learned a lot from Kenneth and his dad as well. And that was a big impact for us in general, just because, we got to really understand, personally, got to understand what it took, what you had to do. This isn't just a deal of, well, we go to bed when we're kidding, we don't go to bed at 7 o'clock at night and wake up at 7 a.m. It's 24 hours practically when you're kidding. You know, you got to check those things all the time, and there's medicine involved, and there's worming, and there's this and that. There's always something to do. That's always been one of my things. There's always something to do. You just got to find it, and it's easy to do, especially when you're raising livestock.
Yeah.
So getting back to when we first started, you know, I think the most amount of does that we had ran was probably about maybe 50 head. We were never a deal that ran 100 head. We never had big numbers. We never did. And we were always just live breeding those does. We never used had bought any like some semen. We had never flushed. You know, it was just one of those deals. We just get a buck, a lease buck, or buy a buck, and breed those does and sell the kids. And our thing starting out was kind of, I guess you'd say, more cash flow. So we never really kept back any females. Just because, I mean, we all know in the livestock business, it all costs money. Everything costs money. The feed, the shavings, the shots, the lease, the buying the buck, I mean, it all costs money. So we weren't really keeping a whole bunch of females back, but right there, those last like 3 or 4 years, we did. We were keeping those females back, and kind of right there at the end, we'd only had about 10 does that we were actually just running. That's it. We cut down quite a bit, and I think 3 years ago we had did our very first flush program, which was a big deal for us because we never wanted to do it, and you always hear bad stories about them, how they can go real bad and they can go real good, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they're good or not, it's still going to cost you money. So I think that first year we were like 12 for 15 and then 20 for 30. So we hit a really good lick that year. It was, the flush program that year was good. It would have been 2 years ago. We took 4 does to flush, and it was a disaster. We were 18 for 0, 20 for 0. No, I'm sorry. We were 0 for 18, 0 for 20, 0 for 6, and 0 for 4. So we hit all zeros. Wasn't the happiest camper, but it is what it is. Kaylin would tell you it was a long way to Oklahoma from Texas because I didn't say much at all. And then this past year we flushed 2 does, and we were 8 for 10 and 2 for 10. And it was good. That's kind of how that whole deal started. Just, we didn't have very many numbers at all. I guess you'd say focus more on quality than quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, you're working for Kenneth Helms, one of the biggest goat operations in the U.S. show goat operations in the U.S.
I was.
Yeah. So what did you learn, production wise, when you were there? What did you learn about females that made you change up your decisions when you were buying prospects for your herd?
So Kenneth's program, which everybody in the goat business, unless you've lived underneath a rock, there's this buck they called 191, which was a big influence on Kenneth's herd. The reason being that that buck had worked so well for Kenneth was because of the S100 females. All those females were S100 daughters. So usually how it works is if they work on one, then they're going to work on all of them. So, and I had learned from Kenneth that the female side, and I'd learned also previously from Mike Kelly, that female base is the most important. So I focused really hard on the female side. And then as far as, going back to like the shots and the pulling the goats, and those are real important things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about some of your favorite bucks that you've had running around on your place.
We've had a lot of them. Had we've had a lot of bucks run around here. Some of them just for guys that are dropping them off to get clipped. Some of them are some we've used, some we've leased out, we've used in a AI program because they're dead. We've used a lot of bucks, but I think probably the most favorite around here would have been GL. He was the most consistent. We bought that buck from Chris Kellen. That one was raised by Randy Pullen and Chris Kellen. Real easy going. Ugliest thing you'd probably ever look at. Not one that you say. I think we bought him. He was like a 3-year-old or 2-year-old, somewhere in there. And I'd called Kellen and I said, "Hey," I said, what's the deal on this buck? Like, why is he so cheap? He goes, "He's ugly." I'm like, "Well, I can see that in the pictures." And he goes, "He's just buy him." I said, "What?" He goes, "Just buy him and thank me later." I said, "Okay." So we buy him and we put up a whole bunch of semen on him, and we keep him around here for about a year or so. And that one that one pushed him out. Just great livestock, or as you'd say, good livestock. And that's why his name was GL, for good livestock. That one just, he made them sound, functional in their feet and legs. Those things were never like the most just cracked open anywhere. They were just really just real sound, real functional, plenty of muscle, plenty of width, just good quality foundation livestock. And I think in my mind that we get a little bit too carried away from that and any livestock, whether if it's cattle, goats, sheep, hogs, whatever. We always like to push the envelope, that's for sure. I think at times we need to set back and really say, okay, we need to look at good livestock. What is good livestock? Ones that are the females that are good uddered, they have good teats, okay? Because we need those females to sit there and have a mother ability to do their job. So then we get back to the feet and legs and the lines and structure, design, body shape, and stuff like that. And those are all key elements, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good topic to kind of dive into a little bit more. I don't know as much on the goat side. I know on the sheep side we kind of went too far into chasing the muscle. Just kind of, and we made them extreme. We caused some issues, right? We made dwarfs, lots of dwarfs that were running around. So are you seeing that on the goat side too, or is this?
I mean, I kind of hate to be the one to just push it out there, and we're on Facebook Live, but I'll go ahead and do it. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I think that, well, I think a lot, but you said, we're chasing the muscle and we're chasing these little short dinks that their cannon bone is about that long, and they will never grow. And they might get 75 pounds to 80 pounds, and that's their biggest that they're ever going to be. I think we focus too much on making these things so heavy muscled and so extreme that we lose the basic build of these things. I think, like another thing is everybody, and it's the trend. It's just the way it is. And it never used to be like this. But we focus so much on this hair quality. I mean, and that's fine. We all want good hair on these goats. But just because their hair is however long doesn't make them a great one. It doesn't. Does it help? Yeah, for sure. But that's one thing. Like, just these little short dinks, they're not, short dinks are not going to make a game changer. That, like, why would you keep breeding a dink to a dink? It doesn't make sense. Or as Claire Powell-Holman would say, a frog.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. I just don't see it.
Yeah. So in the goat world, right, it's mostly the does that you just show with hair on, right?
Correct.
You pill it off the wethers. So if you were king of the world, would you say it's time to clip does like wethers?
Oh, I think we should have been doing that a long time ago. Long
Okay.
time. And here in Oklahoma, they have like the regular show where they show them with hair, and then they have like the weather dam show where they slick them off like wethers. And in Texas, like San Angelo, they clip them down to about, I think it's 1.25 inches, and then they'll slick shear them for San Antonio.
Okay.
But I do believe that clip them off. Let's see what they really are. I mean, and I'll be firsthand, and I might get a phone call after this whole deal. Well, why are you saying that? Well, because I clip does, I clip bucks. I think 2 weeks ago I clipped the first wether I've actually clipped in about 4 years, because we haven't been taking hair off these things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we're way past that. We needed to slick these things off years ago.
Yeah. So that's funny because, I mean, Blaine, you're putting yourself out of a job. You're pretty good at that stuff.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. Like I said, it might kick me in the butt for it, but yeah, I mean, it might put me out of a job, and that's fine, because if we can make these things better by slicking them off and seeing really what you've got, then that changes the game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's kind of keep going down that track. When parents and kids are picking out projects for county fairs, what's the best advice you can give them?
If they come to Apex or out in general?
Both.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate what you're doing with your sale, for one, because there's not very many live sales anymore. And when I was selling some goats online several times, and let me backtrack this just for a second. The online setup has been great. It's been great for a lot of people, and just not the goat business, and any livestock business. The online deal has been great. You can get those animals out to more states, more hands. They could bring less, they could bring more, and that's fine. And I'm not one bit beating down the online sale. I will beat down the people for it, though, because I think at times it's a lot easier to sit down on a computer and click a button than it is to just get up, go drive, and look at those things.
Mm-hmm.
Get up, go look at them. I understand if it's 5, 6, 10 hours, go look at them. I get it. It sucks. Just go look at those things. That's one of the things. Go look at them. When I'm looking for stock, I like those things have got to be, for one, I always look at feet and legs first. Like their hooves can't be twisted. They like the point from their angle to their knee down to their hoof has got to like have an angle set to them. They can't be bucked over, bucked out. No, that won't work. So structure is a big deal for me. Like when they're coming at me or they're going away, those things have got to come wide, square, and true. Those are the first things I look for, and then I worry about the lines. Those things like coming out of their shoulder, they're the point of the top of their shoulder has got to lay in to their neck just about, I mean, at a 90-degree angle. And a lot of guys, and I hate to say it, but they're trying to get with the sheep times. You know, they want these goats now to where they're dead level out of their hip. Genetically and physically, goats in general, they're not made. Those goats are not made to be dead level hipped. Those things are always going to have a little bit of a coming out of their hip. They're going to be a little bit steeper hipped. I don't know if I've ever seen personally myself, and I've seen a lot of them. I don't know if I've ever seen a goat that is dead perfectly level coming out of their hip that has a big hip. It's hard to do. Because the angle to that hip. So if it's like this, then you've got more shape to come out of that hip. So if we're dead level like this, we have no shape to come out of that. Does that make sense?
I don't know if that makes sense for me, a sheep guy, because I'm picturing. Hey, your issue is your county fair judges keep hiring us sheep guys to judge the dang goat shows. So,
yeah. So we're looking at lines, we're looking at structure, and then, like I said earlier, I don't really look so much for the hair quality, this or that. And at the end of the day, you can put those things on the stand, wash their legs out, 3-4 times a week, and rinse them, condition them, blow them out good and dry, and you'll have good hair quality. So I don't really always look on the weather side as far as, just big, massive, hairy legs. That's probably not what I look for. That's probably the last thing I would look for. The next deal is, their top shape. Them things have got to be, big backed, deep on their edges, their loins. They got to be flat and square coming out of their shoulder and into their loin. And I always like those things to be square and flat in their rack shape and progressively get wider into their loin. So as you're going back, those things have got to edge out kind of like a triangle. And not saying that the rack shape has to be narrow and this and that, because I don't want them to be. But if we can get wider as we come back into that loin, I think that's a big deal. I'm a sucker for those goats that are short-eared and kind of have like just that real cocky look to them. Like if they're kind of, my wording would be tricked out. Like if those things are short-eared and they're like kind of a little more bug-eyed and just out there looking. Oh, I'm in.
You like the crazy ones, huh?
Oh, I do.
Okay. All right. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit more. As far as high quality goats that you've seen, what's one of the favorites that you've seen, whether it's at a show, a champion at a show? Let's start there. Yeah.
Whew. I've been to a lot of them. I don't know.
One that just hits you a little different, right? It walked in the ring, you're like, that's a bad cat. I bet that thing's going to win it all.
See, there's some of them deals I'm like, oh wow, and then they don't win, they stand second.
I think I know one of those stories that you're referencing right there.
Yeah, we all have those stories.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could really just sit here and tell you just one in general. Usually, like, Oklahoma Youth Expo or like the Tulsa State Fair here in Oklahoma. There's a lot. There's some of them deals, and they're like, whoa, like that deal could win, but then it doesn't work that way sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I could put one on. I don't know if I could tell you that.
Okay. So, memorable livestock show. What's your most memorable
Oklahoma
livestock show?
Expo,
What was that?
the Oklahoma Youth Expo.
Oklahoma Youth Expo. A certain year?
Senior year, so 2016. We were bronze at OYE that year with the hair doe. I remember we took that doe to the Champion's Choice, and she didn't even make the cut. Like, this thing wasn't, like, she just wasn't ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we took her there, and that's the only show we ever took her to before the Oklahoma Youth Expo. That same year, we had another doe from Kenneth Helms, and that one was one that you just took everywhere she went. She was granted reserve. It was just, that thing was a bad cat. So we get up there to the city, and the one that's been winning all year round, she doesn't even make the cut. And we're not talking like 20 or 30 in this class. We're talking like 50. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, we don't even sift with her. And I'm like, well, there goes my senior year. I'm like, oh, that's all over. So we go in with this other doe we called Peaches. We had Peaches and Cream that year. And so we go in there with Peaches, and ends up, so we win the class. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. And Bronk Fleming was judging that year. And so we get into the division deal. And he's on the mic, and he goes, on Sundays when my preacher gets real excited, he says, this is all that in a bag of chips. And he goes, and there's one out here that is. And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, huh, which one? Like, I thought the doe we had was dang good, but I'm kind of starting to look around. And he comes over and shakes my hand. I'm like, hey, that like this moment's pretty cool, So we win the class and we win the division. So then we go back in for the grand drive, and ends up that we're bronze overall. And that deal was pretty cool. It was that the Oklahoma Youth Expo is real. They that whole show, they take care of it real well. They're great people. And they make it a big deal for the kids. And I think that's a big deal. And that was exciting for me.
Yeah. No kidding. I've never been to Hawaii.
You should.
Want to go someday. It looks like a.
You just need to sit up in the bleachers and watch the sheep show, because that would be your bread and butter. I'm telling you, that's cool.
I'm sure it would. Yeah. It looks, the videos, that you watch, being able to watch it on the internet, it's pretty dang cool.
Well, it's better in person. So go ahead, and if you're free, go ahead, just buy you a plane ticket and just go this year. And if you don't, then maybe you'll be able to do it next few years.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, all right. When it comes to advice, what's the best advice you could give or have received when it comes to this livestock stuff?
Oh man. Obviously work hard. Work hard. This deal just doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't happen just by yourself. And and get to know those breeders. And I think that's another thing that maybe I didn't say. Get to know your breeders. Get to know the people you're buying goats from. Understand the genetics. Understand what you're getting into and what you're buying. Um, I'm I've said this in a couple of my online sales. I am at times I kind of live in my own little world, if that makes any sense. So going back to one of those deals you'd said earlier about, oh, the bucks and this and that. So I study the buck genetic side probably a lot more than what I should. And I'm not one of those that goes out and buys $2,500 worth of semen for 2 straws. I'm not going to do it. Haven't done it. Not going to do it. I follow a little bit more on the older school bucks. Just because they're already proven, you know what they're doing, and you know what they have done in the past. So I'm a little bit older school on that. So just get to know those, get to know your breeders, and just listen to them. And especially if you're a new breeder, rather if it's in any of this livestock industry, get to know those people, work hard. Another deal is focus on the female side a lot if you can. And this is just my opinion. I think your females are what makes your program. I don't think it's your buck, honestly. And that's just me. Because if you don't have good females, you don't really have much.
That's true. That's true. Clay Elliott, the judge that we're bringing out, he said in his interview a couple times, "Hey, a good set of females, they'll save you from some bad buck decisions."
It is exactly right. There is no doubt. Like if you can get, if I was going to go all back over again and restart, I would go buy about 10 does that were bred identically the same way from the same breeder, and then take a buck, put on all of them, and then cull off the doe kids that weren't as good, keep the ones that were better, and over time get rid of the females that you bought originally, those 10, and just kind of grow from there.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. So tell me, what are you up to, Blaine? What's the goals? What are you going to do now?
I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know if anybody is well aware of this or not, but we did sell out of the goat business. We sold out of the goat business. We've got a deal here or there, those kind of deals, but I'm not really doing much now. I'm traveling quite a bit, clipping and photoing some goats. We have the Oklahoma Youth Expo coming up. I think I'm going to go up there for about 2 days. My original plan actually was I was not going to go, but ends up now I'm going. I told Mom the other day, I said, you know what? I said, I actually might just go ahead and go to the sale barn and buy me about 2 ewes and maybe a ram and just go out there and just throw them out there in the pasture. And so that way it kind of gives me more to do. Because
You're not going to buy sheep, huh?
I mean, I'll tell you what, those Dorpers, I'm telling you, they're great mothers. They're like you can't go wrong. Just as far as just, I mean, in general, you cannot go wrong with those things. They're just great mothers. I mean, they're wicked good as far as a
And they kind
commercial
of,
standpoint.
yeah, they kind of look like goats too.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Kind of got that hair thing going for them.
Yeah,
So,
and I know the Dorper deal and the showing deal it's really picked up. It's really picked up the last few years.
oh yeah,
Like I know the Kelly family, they're big into that deal, and they've been pushing that deal pretty hard, and they raise a lot of good ones.
yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who are watching, I've got with me Blaine Rue of Rue Livestock. They exhibited the champion buck at the Apex last year. Blaine's got a trophy floating around somewhere in that house.
Yeah, it's
Um,
in here.
uh, he
I think
brought
we
an
also
excellent
had the
set.
highest selling doe there too.
I did. I mentioned that in my write up for this Facebook Live. You had the high selling doe. She was a beauty. Holy cow, that
Yeah,
one was cool.
she was pretty special.
Pretty special goat. Have you heard anything about that one? What's she doing?
Where's she at? What's she doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they bought her, which you know who bought her, and
Mm-hmm.
they were gonna flush her, and then ends up that they weren't gonna flush at all. What that Nathan Hawes? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kind of keep on in contact on that one. But last time I heard, she wasn't going to get flushed. None of that, because he had bought that doe for another family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they're not going to flush this year. I think they AI'd her to a soldier boy or something like that from a blue team.
Okay.
So I kind of keep a little track on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to see what she does. She might
Mm-hmm.
do something special.
Yeah, and he even said so himself. He said that one could be a donor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, Blaine did a great job last year. Hoping he can find some time to get out to the Apex this year.
That the
Join
plan
us.
is. That's the plan to get out there. We have so we're out of the goat business, yes. So when I'd sold a select few of those, there were some of those kids that I'd told the gentleman, well, I said, our plan is to go to the Apex. That's the plan. So I don't know if you call it a problem, but I would. How far is it from me to you? Or to, yeah, I mean, from me to you, it's what, how far is it?
It's a good trip.
It's
It's a
a
good
real good
trip.
trip. Um, so what we would be bringing would be like 2 or 3 little babies. I mean, little babies. And I hate personally to travel that far and bring those little ones. It stresses them out. Their skin doesn't end up being right. They kind of they'll go off feed. They'll do this. They'll do that. But my plan is to come and just go ahead and do it and just finish it on out.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, we're excited to have Blaine out again. So I wanted to remind everybody, Apex is just around the corner. Holy crap. We're like
Yeah.
just over a month out. So first of all, if you haven't consigned yet, go ahead, get online, do that. Go to the apexshow.com. Entries are due March 20th. We actually bumped out that due date a little bit. Gives you guys a little bit more time to really select the animal you want to bring, get some pictures of them. March 20th without the late fee, and then of course between then and the Apex, you've got an additional $10 per head for a late fee. Apex is April 6th, 7th, and 8th. Check-in is the evening of the 6th. Show is the 7th, and then the 8th is the auction. And we're following the same pattern we have the past couple of years as far as the schedule goes. We also have the jackpot, the Rock Your Stock jackpot is what it's going to be called this year. Good time. Mandy Long does a great job. So if you know any kids that want to come out and participate in that, love to have them out.
And
Blaine,
those
yeah, go
goats
ahead.
and sheep are qualified to show in that show that next day, correct?
Correct. So if you buy one in the auction, you can turn around and show it in the market,
Correct.
at the jackpot, the market and breeding classes in the jackpot. So a lot of kids have had a lot of fun doing that. The champion Weather at the Apex actually turned around. He had a great show career, starting with the jackpot right after the auction in year one for the sheep side of things. So yeah, it's a great time. We're doing all sorts of new things this year. We're going to make sure we have some really great food on site. We're bringing in laser tag. So laser tag is going to be on site as well.
Cool.
So you can play as many rounds as you want. It's going to be a really good time. So we want to get everybody out. Come join us at the Apex. It's a great show and a great auction. And we're going to have a lot of really high quality livestock that people can get their hands on, both for breeding and for shows throughout the fall and summer. So,
yes.
Blaine, I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you for your time, and look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all having me, and we look forward to coming. And if anybody has any questions or anything, they're more than welcome to give me a shout. And we plan on being there. I appreciate you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to everyone later.
Yes, sir. Thank you.